So we had a request for Parkinson's. We've been talking on, specific specific pathology, specific diseases. I mean,
Hmm.
what do you want to call, for whatever it's diabetes or, uh, you know, dementia or whatever. So Parkinson's. So I'm going to, again, from a layman's term, I keep doing this, but to me, it just is relevant to say, here we are going along. We just had our guys group and we're talking about, are we really evolving or are we devolving? We're doing these things that are causing lack,
Right. Causing symptoms,
causing, yeah, issues.
pain.
Yeah. So here's our body in perfect
Hmm.
input, output, recovery, stress, perfect thing, we'd be here. And we're not. We're doing these things that are causing us harm. And then you take that same lack or bad ingredients, whatever, bad lifestyle, whatever, and put them in 10 people, and it could theoretically manifest in different ways. And boom, this person gets diabetes, this person gets dementia. Here's another one that we're talking about. This person gets Parkinson's.
Yeah.
Okay. But how then would you, because when we think of Parkinson's, we always think of me. I think because I have a picture of an actual person because I knew a guy. And as he, got older, it got worse every year till, he's sitting there shaking. And at first he's pretty coherent, but he's kind of shaken, got the tremors there. And then it went on to where he's in a wheelchair and lifeless pretty much, and then died. And boom, that's Parkinson's. And it's, even as I look at the stats that I'll share some of here in a minute, there's so many of them, and it seems like by proxy we expected that that's somebody over 60 at least. And now, just like everything else, it's happening at younger ages. And now we have the stats of what is happening in between the 30 to 50-year olds having Parkinson's. 30 to 50. That's,
Wow.
you and I are 50,
Yeah.
right at the beginning. And boom. So what would you say though? So define, you would say, diabetes is this. Here's the layman's description of what's happening. What's Parkinson's?
Yeah. Uh, the so Parkinson's is basically where your brain kind of gets messed up in how it is producing and sending to the right places dopamine. That's it.
Really? Okay.
Is so whenever we give the medicines for that, then it is it enhances the dopamine production system. And so, even in our guys group this morning, where we were talking about how all of, excuse me, how all of these symptoms are misinformation.
Okay.
So everything in the body that's going along, we could say, is a transmission of some kind of piece of information. We call it chemistry. And so dopamine and norepinephrine and epinephrine and serotonin and all of those things that are famous when we talk about depression and anxiety and sleep and, is my brain okay? And so dopamine is the kind of the central player in somebody who's got Parkinson's. And basically it just doesn't work. Right. So in its production and how it's traveling and where it goes and those kind of things. Um, and so, then like you said, it's typically an old guy, more men than women, and famously, they lose expression in their face. They kind of have what we call a blank faces. They just they don't smile, even though they can be talking happy at you. You're like, are you mad? Because I don't see it in your. They lose sparkle. Um, they look depressed, and which kind of makes them feel depressed. So depression's a big one. They can't move, and they have what's called, those are the guys that shuffle
Yeah.
the little bitty steps, and then they get the tremor.
Yeah.
There's that famous movie with Robert De Niro and called Awakening,
Oh, right.
right? And so back in the 70s and 80s, the first and just about the only medicine that's ever made an impact in people is a dopamine. I can't remember if it's an agonist or whatever it is biochemically, but and and it helped for a while, and then the pathways went forward, like the information went forward, and he could read a line or he could walk a straight line. And so it just doesn't work. And then it works a little less. And like you said, the lack. And down that pathway, when the lack keeps increasing, then like Robert De Niro, he was shaken so much he couldn't hold a book to read. He couldn't hold a cup of coffee. And the debility just it's terrifying. It's terrifying. It's
And
depressing.
we had I don't know the episode, we had Dr. Phil Bredesen, brain ex
Dale
Dale,
Bredesen. Yeah.
sorry. Phil Bredesen, I think he's a politician. Dale Bredesen on the show, and he talks about in his book,
The
end
end
of
of
Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's. Yeah.
And about, when we talk about cancer, most of us know a lot of people who had cancer and got better. I mean, it's, so somebody's got
Mhm.
cancer today. It's not the death knell that it used to be. Okay, what kind of cancer, and how bad is this really? He says, but with Alzheimer's, do you know anyone who has recovered from, got better?
Right.
And we would say no, almost no. Now he's, of course, that's his shtick. Is he's saying, well, we've got proof now. Same thing with Alzheimer's. I mean,
Parkinson's.
Parkinson's.
Yeah.
Generally, my perspective is that when somebody starts, they may do some things to
Delay.
delay,
Hmm.
but they're gonna go. It's just not something you recover from or that you
Hmm.
reverse
Hmm. I,
statistically.
I would still, yeah,
And
agree.
yet you went to a conference, didn't
Hmm.
you? And
So I don't have a patient of my own that went through this, but we went so a couple 3 years ago in the conference, and the theme was neuroscience
mhm,
and neuroplasticity, which is a new and now kind of famous word. And the fact that and Dr. Bredesen and his ilk were the guys that were there. And so Dr. Norman Doidge did a presentation where he had worked with a guy, and I think famously, and kind of made the internet rounds, from South Africa. And he basically walked his way out of Parkinson's.
right.
Now, at the same time, neurologically and biochemically, we would likely still say he has Parkinson's, but instead of the downward decline, he flattened off. So rather than saying he recovered, I think it would be better to say he stopped declining.
So he halted it. He did not reverse it.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And right now, I don't know, but I would, now we can say with Dr. Bredesen, hey, there are studies published that demonstrate a reversal of Alzheimer's.
Okay.
We can now say that, not based on any medicine. So that's why nobody's heard about it. And this would still be small studies and those kind of things, granted. But I don't know that we can say that with Parkinson's. And this guy basically, because he also had some of those other things, and even in the video, his blank faces was kind of there. Now he walked himself out of that shuffle, and he was doing way better on his trajectory than other people typically do.
Yeah.
So I would still call it a success and not a death knell. Even the hopefulness that you could go to somebody and say, all right, well, let's just start walking, you know, and ultimately going to the brain with the neuroplasticity idea and saying, yeah, gosh, I'm so sorry, but you're going to have to retrain your brain. No different than somebody who gets in a car wreck and has to literally relearn how to walk, relearn how to use a fork, or post stroke. You have to relearn those things. But within the realm of Parkinson's, nobody's been doing that.
What are the early signs?
Um, so
So like if you and I, if all of a sudden, I mean, it's coming next week.
yeah,
What are the early? Well,
so tremor, people will start
so
to
here you
notice a
are going
tremor.
along feeling fine, and you realize, put your hand out now, which everybody's going to do now. Put your hand out, and if there's a tremor, now obviously I assume that there's probably 10 reasons why you could have a tremor there.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
had way too much coffee.
yeah.
You're nervous.
Benign essential tremor is going to be the number one reason.
Benign.
Benign meaning this doesn't mean Parkinson's or
Uh,
cancer or you had a stroke, but remember I wanted to say your intro at the outset, I think, is a great picture of just chronic disease. Like, we all live like Americans. We have 10 different people who reach 60, and one guy's going to manifest this, one guy's going to manifest that. So here's person number 11 living the normal life, and they manifest a benign essential tremor. Freaks them out because they think, do I have MS? Do I have Parkinson's? Do I have what's going on here? And then they do a $2,000 or $3,000 workup to get an MRI and a this and a that and an EMG on there. And at the end of the day, the doc says you probably just have a tremor. You are, and like in our guys group this morning, we would say you're just getting older. The information, and I would say, no, I don't accept that age equals lack. and disability.
Right. Because there's the other 60-year-old who's going to win the Pikes Peak Marathon this
Right.
year and is doing
Doing great.
uh, winning
He's
the Nobel Prize for his brain work. This may be unfair and jumping the gun, but I'm just, as we almost weekly are talking about these issues, that if you and I go along and next week some manifestation comes up and it's, oh my gosh, you're stupidly pre-diabetic,
yeah.
Randy James, with all your fashion, but you're going to take more affirmative action towards a different treatment, let's say pathway,
Sure.
and you're going to address
And I'm
your
going to also have a different perspective on my past.
okay.
Like we said before, I'm going to know that, well, thank goodness for the last 20 years, I've been living a better way because this would have happened 10 years ago.
Right. And towards genetics, which we just did a show on that, you're going to probably question real quick and go, gosh,
There's
there's
probably
a genetic marker that maybe have a higher
that-
propensity. So
that's right.
Even with
I'm
all these
predisposed.
yes, all these great things I'm doing, but so I'm going to go, you're going to go militant on your,
That's right.
food and no sugar and no whatever. You're going to do that to address that. So I say that to jump into right now. If you, yeah, again, it's as wildly preposterous as we think it is. And all of a sudden next week you're getting, tremors and let's say it's early onset Parkinson. Well, it's 51 early onset. It still is, I guess, early onset Parkinson's.
Yeah.
What would be an action towards that?
Yeah. Leaning proactively into this to say, okay, well, there you go. Right. Like, son of a gun, I got it.
Yeah.
Or the cancer or the whatever, down the Parkinson's pathway. And because that's going to be your question, is like, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And for people out there listening and they've, themselves or their parents really are, and,
well, like what's the treatment? You say he walked his way out of Parkinson's.
Yeah.
Had he not been walking before?
No. Well, he was a CEO exec computer programmer type. So
maybe not.
Program.
So maybe not. So a more sedentary lifestyle.
Yeah. Which is all of us, right? It's the vast majority of us. So we're back to that phrase. All of us are sedentary to a degree.
Yeah.
So if I'm pre-Parkinson's, I'm going to be less sedentary than what I was. There you go.
Okay.
All right.
Because you said at that time when you came back from that conference and you talked to me and you said, I've always had it in my mind that it's kind of a movement disease or a lack of movement disease.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. A lack of your brain remembering how to move disease.
So even if you started exhibiting the aspects of Parkinson's and you go, well, I do move more than the average. We'd go, well, sorry, move more. You have to move more than I do. Here I am. And you're pissed off going, man, Kevin's moving half as much as I am. And he doesn't have Parkinson's.
Exactly.
And we go, well, sorry.
Yeah. Just like, so you're telling me that just because I have white skin, I have to wear suntan lotion?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Right.
That is not fair.
Right. Not fair. So
in this case, it's yes, you are predisposed to this neurological abnormality if you live like an American. And I did. So now I have to live less like the typical American. I have to move more. I can't eat those foods. I have to sleep more. I have to do everything that I can do to enhance neuroplasticity, neuro regrowth.
Well, and when that happened, when you talked about that study, that guy, Parkinson's walking in way out, a lack of movement thing, is when I feel like that's when it got us talking about our propensities as humans, especially as we age, to as soon as we start feeling that ache or that pain, or let's say we have X injury, a legit injury, whatever, that we start guarding and protecting instead of therapying out of it. And so if you have Parkinson's and you feel, I mean, do you feel an ache or a pain?
It will be harder to move.
So there you go. So your propensity is to go, oh, that's hard. So I'm not going to do that.
I better not do that.
And then you talked about it kind of facetiously, not facetiously, but here you are right now. I mean, when I go into my mud room in the morning and put shoes on to go outside, I just stand there. We do have some little stools, but since you've talked about it now, I stand there and I put it up. I was at the ski place sitting, out in the parking lot, putting on stuff, and I wasn't even paying attention, but I was on an uneven surface, whatever, putting a ski boot on. And my wife's like, gosh, it's really good balance. Cause I was just sitting there doing that. I was like, Great. Great. I do that as opposed to, and you talked about that. And when the point comes to where you have to put a stool or a bench in your closet to get your socks on,
Yeah,
we're saying this is the proactive. Don't do that. Don't guard. Don't protect. Don't be the, hey, I'm 50 now. When I ski, my knees hurt. Well, don't stop skiing. What can you do more proactively to
that's
keep your
right.
knees from hurting?
Your so we talked about that idea of sort of this micro evolution within me, right? How the body is not built to be pampered. The
Mm.
more you pamper the body, the more it needs to be pampered.
I got to put my favorite analogy, which I love, is a car. I mean, I have a 1984 Jeep CJ7. It is in bad disrepair because it has spent so much of its life not running.
Yeah.
It went for 2 years sitting still. The top molded, the engine corroded,
The
whatever.
likelihood of that thing going again is getting less and less and
Oh, every
less.
time I start it, I think this is the last time. I have a plow on it now and use it once in a while. But it's so illogical because I would think if I buy a brand new, if I had bought a 1960 Jaguar X, E-Type, which I love that car, and bought it and just left it in a garage somewhere so that now I could go open the garage door and it'd be pristine. It wouldn't. The
Right.
tires would all be flat and dry rotted. All the tubes in it would be dry rotted. It's a car is created to, it needs the fluids running through
Yeah.
it. I love that analogy because we as humans,
We're suffering from too much of these things and not enough of
we
these
should
other
think, man, I've
things.
been sedentary. I've been sitting still for 10 years. My heart has beat so many times less than yours. It's so better kept.
You're right.
Right.
That's right.
I haven't used it as much as you have.
That's
Mine,
right.
I got,
I'm
and it's the exact opposite. No, you haven't
some
used
dude
it.
sitting there on the couch saying, I am so awesome. I
Yeah.
am preventing degenerative joint disease by not moving.
And the truth is, of course, it
It's
is atrophied,
well, and
which,
you're actually way more at risk for degenerative joint disease
yeah.
if you don't use those joints.
In which I say this, and again, just to be humble in this, I would say, man, I'm 50 years old. I have used my heart well. I think I have used my muscles well. I've used my joints. I think I have not, I'm not stretched. At some
Right.
point, the pain has got to get enough to
And
cause
you are
me,
not stretchy.
and and then I'm gonna start stretching, and it's gonna be so. I will
You,
never be able to get to the point of flexibility that I could have if I had been stretching all along.
that's right. And probably you will not begin stretching until you hurt something.
Yeah.
Like I did with the
How
last
stupid
snowstorm.
and immature
I,
is that? That is
right.
on me as
That
we
is.
talk on this date right now. I
And,
should
and
be.
all of that, if we're because now you're the 12th person, right? In our
Yeah.
when you started off, there's 10 guys, and here's Kevin Miller, the 12th guy. And are if you don't stretch, are you more likely to get Parkinson's? And I would say if you've got the snip of likelihood of down that pathway, then yes, that's one of the things. Now, how is stretching related to because it impacts the way you move and the way you think about movement and the way that your body mechanics and all of it's everything is related to everything when it comes to the body.
Well, and again, if we could say we could try to figure out, and we can't figure out what the perfect lifestyle is
No,
for every
no,
person,
you're right.
but we can say, man, here are primary
Yeah,
tenets.
yeah,
You should only drink water. That's it. No other liquid all your life. You should
right.
only eat
Darn,
raw vegetables and fruit that you picked off the tree from perfect
fully right.
soil where you're gonna have to go to some other country besides America to even find it. Here's perfection. Well, none of us are going to do that. We're going to do our best, or we're not going to do it. I don't think any of us ever do our best either, but we're going to do something
We're gonna
towards
do what we do.
we're going to do what we do, and hopefully it's towards the bester that we think it might be. We're going to do over here. But if we all knew we had that propensity to say you have a propensity for diabetes, we would probably make a shift and go, I'm going to eat a little less sugar. I'm going to do it. If we thought, we just did a show on dementia, that cognitive decline was, we had a propensity for,
Mm-hmm.
we should take a little more precaution this way, do some brain training, cognitive training, do XYZ. Same thing over here, Parkinson's. If you thought, or
Well, yeah, so family history is a big one.
okay,
Here. If there's a family history, because really people don't really know, am I at risk for this? Family history is about the only one that we really know that there's no labs that's going to predispose. To my knowledge, there's probably some SNPs that are out there that can give you am I predisposed? And this would be part of the 23andMe and ancestry and all that kind of stuff. To me, the biggest one though is exposure to neuroendocrine disruptors, chemicals,
Really?
toxicants, right?
Really? Okay. That's
So
not where I was going to go.
because and when you pop up these statistics that aren't fresh in my mind, but the ones fresh in my mind are one of the who are the people who, at least over the last 20, 30 years, are more likely to get Parkinson's is middle America, older, which is changing, um, farmers, exposure to
Really?
pesticides. Yeah. So
Okay.
spray, or they grew up farming. They grew up in a farming community where there's the
I was going to say you could
constantness.
grow up as an accountant in a small farming community
There you go.
somewhere. Okay.
And your office is on the edge of town and they're spraying that field every season, right? Every season, every season, every season. And you breathe it in to whatever degree. And you're predisposed.
Okay.
And that toxicant, your body has to process. No different than, I keep coming back to the Caucasian thing. You are exposed to the sun. Your body has to process that. If you're a very fair skinned person, it doesn't matter what you think or how you're getting exposed, and you're more likely to have a consequence.
Okay. So I'm going to jump over here. I'm going to come back to our intro of,
Yeah. 10 people and 10 different
yeah, and
things.
life's going on and we're all not doing it perfectly. And the lacks, the voids, the, whatever they manifest in different reasons. We generally take the perspective of we are not always proactively, not always intentionally, but we have responsibility. We are growing these diseases. We are growing these in ourselves, in our
Yeah.
culture, whatever that we are. But you just cited something that was saying, we are, the culture's growing that. If we're talking about because we did a show on environmental toxins, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But you're saying that this is a high propensity of an environmental.
Yeah, sure.
Because I was going to go the other route and say on the movement side. So if I think, because I was coming to that question, if you think you had a propensity, would you be more apt to say, man, I'm going to go trampolining every week. I'm going to do burpees. I'm going to do balance things. I'm going to do more. I always want to call those kinetic, but not plyo. Plyo. What's the things where like you're jumping? It's not just a movement, but
Plyometric.
maybe so.
Mm,
Is that it? I
I
don't know.
don't know.
But yeah, but like a trampoline. I mean, like
Uh-huh.
what a great movement, balance, brain, whatever thing that I'm going to do that to take affirmative action towards Alzheimer's. So maybe you would say, yeah, is that a relevant tact
Yes.
as well?
You meant to say Parkinson's, but
Parkinson's, sorry.
yeah, yes. But I would not do that in a field where they're spraying for chemicals.
Well, I have no idea. This is totally new to me. So I did not know that this is one with a high. So out of those manifestations that we're talking about, is this one that has a higher degree of environmental factors?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Okay.
So in people's heads, this is going to be more akin to what people think of for cancer. So I was just telling you, I read a recent book called The Cancer Code. And what causes cancer? Is there a genetic piece? Yes. Is there a nutrition piece, exercise piece, all of these other pieces, lifestyle piece? Is it related to obesity? Yes, 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 yes. Is it related to environment? Well, there's a big yes there. Aaron Brockovich and the poison water, and we talk about fracking. We talk about, what is going on in the environment that is burdening our human systems. Well, neuroendocrine disruptors, these chemicals that we put that are in our shampoo and in our dye on clothes, and we just go on and on and on.
I think about it with clothes now. If I get new clothes, they're going to the washer first.
Oh, yes. So just the other
in the
day,
washer first that I'm probably washing with crap, but
my wife brought home some whatever clothes, and I'm like, oh, let me try them on. And I just kept it on for the day.
oh,
And she freaked out. She's like, I just read an article
I'm
about how you just covered yourself awash with, whatever.
I'm scared of that. Yeah, I've read.
So on one hand, I could be, well, I'm kind of proud of myself that I didn't even get any Parkinson's whatsoever.
Well, your body. So if there was something on there, your body.
I just took a hit.
Or it did what it was supposed to do, and
I withstood a hit.
Yeah.
But all of us are on the spectrum all the time, every day. So every breath, you are breathing poisoned air for sure, right? Like we can measure the cord blood of babies in northern Greenland, and you will find these toxic chemicals. BPA got really famous, right? So BPA is now illegal, and it was in the bottles, and famously it's in receipts.
Oh,
All the
I've got
printing.
an Nalgene bottle behind me. That's one of the newer ones. It is BPA free because our old ones weren't.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
there's also BPB and there's BP whatever, or bisphenol A, bisphenol B, and in our modern lifestyle, we like our Nalgene bottles and our cups and our this and that and the other and everything. Like 90% of what we're looking at right now is plastic. So plasticizers and all of these things. So we're not going to be in a world ever where this isn't there. And I'm not saying we need to go back to the dark ages, but we need to be aware
I was gonna say we minimize it.
and we
I'm
minimize it as much as possible.
here. We are right now at 8,500 feet above sea level with cleaner air.
Sure, our air by definition is cleaner. There's less oxygen. But
There's no pesticides because nobody can grow anything up here.
right.
But we've got carpet. We're standing on carpet
That's
that
right.
at one point
Paint,
had something. There's paint,
treated wood,
clothes that was washed in
computer, everything.
Yeah.
To tea and coffee. Like if you're not doing fancy coffee, you're getting a lot of chemicals.
I don't do organic coffee. I keep thinking to, but
I kind of
I tried some recently and it
should.
tasted like crap, but okay, we
You
need to try
know.
that. Well, so listen to this. So this is a 2017 study, and this is irritating too because any relevant health study is always a few years behind. They can tell you maybe how many, even the numbers seem to always be to have the legit study. So this is the most recent, 2017.
Okay.
And said approximately 90% in America, 90,000 commercially insured adults between the ages of 30 and 64 were diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in that year.
90,000.
90,000.
Wow.
While that number is relatively small, our research shows that the prevalence rate has grown more than 50% in the span of 5 years.
Yeah.
I think the number is something in America that like 9 million people have it. The average, here's a couple stats. The average age of Parkinson's diagnosis in the commercially insured, this is done by Blue Cross Blue Shield and a study.
So this is
study
commercially
company.
insured, not Medicare. Right. So this is under 65.
Yeah,
I'm tracking
that's
with
going to
you.
leave out a lot of people.
It'll
But
leave
this
out-
is this is who paid for the test.
Right.
Average age in commercially insured population 30 to 64 years of age is 57 years old, and those diagnosed under the age of 50 classified as early onset 3. And so here we go. Early onset, 30 to 50 years of age is up 107% from 2013 to 2017. That's a 4-year span. We're almost 4 years past that. So if it increased 107% in those 4 years, we're another 4 years past it. We could assume it's increased.
So
to what degree?
Well, and we have to be careful there, because if that meant over, if they were talking to 90,000 people and exactly 2 people were diagnosed in 2013, well, that means that 4 people were diagnosed in 2017. So 107% you got to be careful of, right? Does that mean we went from
the number is
10,000 to 20,000? Because
no, it's the number. No, here, look. So in when this was done, 2017, they took 10,000 adults ages 30 to 64. In 2013, out of those 10,000, 5.5 had Parkinson's. Okay. In 2017, 4 years later, 8.4 did. Now, again, this number's small, but if we still look at the prevalence, if they talk about the prevalence rate, if it's still something that doubled in that time, even though the number is still small, so we don't all need to be out there going, holy crap, it doubled by 107%. Almost at 9 out of 10 people must have it. No, it's still a small percent, but it's just the reality that here we are in a culture, and here's yet another
where we are
disease
sicker earlier
at a hockey stick. Like here it was. It used to be down here, and it would increase a little, and now we're in a point where the hockey stick is going up.
Yeah, but again, the hockey stick, if it goes from 5 to 10,
I don't know why you're minimizing that. I feel like it's still double.
This is the concept
it's an early onset problem. How's it? So,
you're right, but this is why people also freak out maybe too much about their cholesterol levels.
Okay, so nobody freak out.
But yeah, don't freak out. Just be aware and pay attention to understand that we are, as a people, we're getting sicker, faster, and quicker.
But now this one, what I'm interested though in there is this one different than maybe, well, yeah, no, totally different than type 2 diabetes. Cause you didn't come along and say, yeah, we're seeing a lot of type 2 diabetes because people are in contact with paint. And you said pretty much it's because of what they're putting in their mouths for the
Sure.
most part. Now here's one though, and you're saying that prevalence increase,
Is related also to the increase in prevalence of the various chemicals that we are.
which we have far less control over than what we put in our mouths or what we
True.
exercise or whatever.
True.
Now we're looking at the environment that we literally live in. And as somebody, I mean, if you're talking what fertilizers and
Yeah. Pesticides is the
pesticides and
big one. Yeah.
pesticides. Okay. Gosh, that's a fairly,
Well, it's everybody. If you don't eat organic food, you're getting pesticide.
okay. But I was gonna say for
Now,
the people that are out there in agricultural land in Kansas,
yeah, you get more.
you get
You're
more.
breathing and it's touching your skin and you're eating
So
it.
should you freak out that you're going to get Parkinson's? No, but you are at a higher, what can you do to
But
help
let's also
guard
go
yourself?
to that. I'm from Kansas, so I can say this. Let's go to those farmers in Kansas. They are farming these days. You are largely sedentary and you are overweight because you sit on a tractor.
Wait, I'm going to throw something. Hey, this is interesting. I remembered I had this. Western and southern states appear to have lower rates of Parkinson's disease, while northeastern and many Western states have higher rates. Mississippi and Montana have the lowest rates of Parkinson's at 5.1 per 10,000 people. Vermont has the highest rate of Parkinson's at 9.9 per 10,000.
I don't know.
Well, that they said Midwestern states had higher percentage. I was going to say, well, that's where a lot of
That's
our
their fault,
agriculture
yeah.
is.
And maybe northeastern is the pollution factor.
I don't
Or
know. Vermont, I would have thought
yeah,
that's a clean state to me.
yeah. Maybe they're poisoning their maple trees or fruit trees, or
Interesting. Okay.
if you know the Northeast has the industrial exposure of the past. I don't know. Um, and there again, for people, this is a tough one because if family history wise, if you're predisposed, then I would say yes, be more aware of like what can you do at the end of the day if there's Parkinson's in your family, or if you're on the front side of thinking, I'm tingly, I'm jittery, I don't I it seems like I'm neurologically unsound or less resilient, or my family is, or there again, we're looking at people and we want to know, well, who's at risk for certain things. So
Yeah.
a very white skinned person, we say you're at risk for skin cancer, have a lifestyle that's a little different. How do we think about that through Parkinson's? Well, we really don't. There's not a classic way to think like we can more about cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and Alzheimer's and all of that. But family history and chemical exposure.
Chemicals. Okay.
And in those places, I would say you need the person to be the person that decides I'm only eating organic, or at least on the Dirty Dozen, only organic. So Environmental Working Group, or EWG.com, is the one who puts out the Dirty Dozen, the Clean 15.
I was just say everybody can go search for the Dirty Dozen. I always
Yeah.
think of potatoes. I know that's one of them.
Well, fruits. So berries are always at the top. Berries are always at the top, and apples and peaches. In order to mass produce, require lots of
Okay.
pesticide to help them. And then it kind of, watermelons are always way down low because they have the thick skin and that kind of thing. So, or just go all organic, right? But that's a cost, and that's those kind of things. I would say, yeah, but again, it costs the really fair skinned person extra to get, SPF 50. It's a cost. So a person over here, you need to buy really great walking shoes and wear them out every time, or all the time, every day. You need to not, or this person, I would say, because most people are sedentary in their jobs, and I would say get a watch, set your watch, 5 minutes of every hour, go walk, do heel to toe balance, finger to nose kind of tasks. There's lots of home physical therapy websites where you can go and say do balance exercises.
That's why I thought of the trampoline. I mean, that's what was prescribed to my kid, right, who was dealing with epilepsy. Yeah.
I remember that story all the time too. Trampoline and doing those other motions, but rebounders. If you're in an apartment, you can buy a rebounder, mini tramp. Maybe one of those. I don't know about this one, but I'm just thinking the vibration machines, right? Like these physical therapy offices or chiropractors will have these vibration plates.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking you can do standing. We're standing at a desk now. We've got standing desks that you can get those balance boards.
Yeah. Where you're Yeah, balance, um, and go and learn how to do a ripstick.
Yeah.
Go and learn how to do new balance
Right. A
things.
unicycle. Yeah. Well, let's put that out there. Balance, because balance, we think about, it's just a physiological thing. And I learned back with a kid who was dealing with epilepsy and they wanted him on the trampoline. I'm going, why? Because of what the balance and the coordination does for your brain. I mean, it
Let's
takes,
let's let's go deeper into that.
okay.
All right. So this is a this is a big area. And so think of the neurovestibular communication system. This is very complex. So, but I bet today you haven't thought one time, son of a gun, I haven't even fallen down one time today.
I have not thought about that.
And I've been looking at you standing there. You don't even look tipsy or anything. We take it for granted. But if we could have you spin around 10 times really fast and you would be off immediately. And everybody knows that sense. But what we don't know is the complexity of what's going on but in the neurovestibular system. And so with anybody who's got brain anything, so TBI, traumatic brain injury, you don't get enough sleep, you get a little bit stressed out, all of these kind of things, you are impacting this system. So now you probably don't know this, but we've got optometrists down in the Springs who work with people post TBI, the concussion
No,
doctor.
Terry went and saw him.
Oh,
She got
Sacred.
the prism. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Got the
prism
prism
glasses.
glasses.
Okay,
Yeah.
all of
It
that
cost me
stuff.
like $500.
Yeah, yeah, very, very pricey prism. And what are those prisms doing? It's not helping her see better. It is
Balance or
training.
something.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's training. And that's where I would look at all of us. We all need to do balance exercises. Get off your chair.
Since that I've been doing, I don't do it that often, but every once in a while it'll occur to me, and I'll do it when I'm running, but you can do it when you're walking. So imagine running and you can do circles, like run, down
Yeah,
the
doing
football
circles.
field and do
Or
circles.
this one where you do this one.
Yeah. 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 That's like a cross country or track thing where
Yeah,
you cross your
we
feet
do it
like
in
that.
soccer.
But that, for people to realize, yeah, that is a brain. It's not just a fit. Oh, he's got good, physicality or balance. No, that's a brain issue.
So Chris Edwards, that
Yeah.
I think she saw, he also works with high performing execs
Yeah.
and certain kinds of the Olympic athletes, because we've got the Olympic training centers. Do you know which ones?
Uh, oh, really?
The shooters, for the biathletes, where they have to settle because their heart's going 80 beats a minute, and they've got to shoot a target, and they have to settle. They have to train their brain.
Did he not work with the figure skaters
And the
that
figure
you worked
skaters.
with?
Yeah. And there again, it's this precision.
Oh my gosh, to
Right.
twirl up like that and land and hold it on that's nuts.
It's the bothness of a physical exertion that's way more than you and I could do with a concentration effort, all in the space of milliseconds. And we all take our brains for granted. And you think Cheerios is going to fuel that? And a cup of coffee and a stressful drive to work, and then you're going to sit there and have another snack with another cup of coffee, and then stare at a screen for 3 or 4 hours and do XYZ work. I mean,
but you mentioned
we all should be getting Parkinson's.
Well, yeah. Well, I have become, and because I'm doing it, more of a proponent to think. Now we've got, you've got a standing desk. We got standing desks. Now you could still be sedentary at a standing desk. Hopefully, the standing desk, you can sit there and fidget around. You can bend. You can get up on your tiptoes or whatever, and you can move around a little bit. But I love, and I know that this is not. I assume it's not possible for everybody if you're in cubicle land or whatever, but to do that, you just said set your watch. To set your watch for every hour is mind blowing. One, you'll be blown away at how fast
it gets
time goes and realize, oh my gosh, I just, it just beeped. And all I've done between now and then is look at internet memes at my desk. Is one, it'll keep you accountable for your time. But to think every hour, just do something little. And if this is dreadful sounding to you or whatever, I mean, just something, stand there and
squats.
do, I was going to say 10 slow, do 5 squats slow, just bend down, whatever. Now, if you can do push-ups, if you can do burpees, I keep a set of dumbbells in my office and I can do all kinds of things with that. We have
the pull-up bars.
We have pull-up bars.
Just hang for a minute.
Or stretch. Just something to move, and think about the deposits of that throughout this week, you can look and go back and go, man, this week I did 100 push-ups throughout the week, which you and I might do that in a day. But for somebody who does 0, that you just did 100, and now you did that every week. And at the end of the week, the deposits Or
It,
it's dramatic.
it's dramatic.
It's dramatic. If I
And
was your healthcare insurer, I would reduce your fee. That's another
it's,
issue that we'll get into another time. I would reduce your fee because you have just now made yourself a
well, if
lesser
I
health
was your
risk.
friend, I would want to share my healthcare costs with you.
Right.
Like you are such a low risk and you're not smoking and you have you pay attention to your sleep and to your family and to all of these things. This is, and we're back to that phrase, your life is your medicine or it's your poison.
Or it's your poison. But this thing though, I do want to point out on this note though, that if you're the weekend warrior, right? So it's cycling, as a professional
Mm-hmm.
cyclist, we would make fun of the weekend warriors, the person who
Mm-hmm.
didn't do anything to go out. But I'm going to make fun of them, and not make fun of them, but I'm going to point out you are so much better to do something 20 minutes a day than to do nothing all week. And on the weekend, go out and do something
Go
for 3
crazy.
hours. Now, in the same sense, though, I'm going to say you're also better off to do something every hour for 2 minutes than to do something one time for 20 minutes during the day. That consistent, to think about that you're keeping your heart rate up, you're keeping yourself limber, you're keeping things flowing.
Let's go one step further. For the one who wants to, you're better to take 20 seconds at maximum intensity.
Right. HIIT workout.
Hit workout than
Yeah.
you are to do a 2 minute.
Okay.
Now, at the end of the day, the best bet is to do all the above.
Yeah. And to your point, it depends on your goals. Cause I'm going to go out
Right.
there like today, I'll probably go out and do it, but I like the endurance. I want to be able to run a 5K and this, and you're going to say that may not be better for your health, but if that's your goal,
right. So for me, it's not right. Like right now in time management and those kind of things, that's not where I am. But I also, so the value there is on the lifespan with health span.
Yeah.
What are the daily deposits I can put in there? So I would like to, do the set of pull-ups and burpees and things like that, little deposits every day. And I struggle on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because those are, 10-hour days and they're just full. And going back to that, set your watch every hour, you're amazed at how fast that hour come. And you're also amazed at how valuable you think you are for those 2 minutes. You think the world is going to die if you don't watch more memes and get your job done.
Yeah.
Or you're going to feel guilty for watching the memes and say, oh, well, now I can't go and do my burpees because I wasted that time. Now I got to get back to work.
You can sit there and do 10 squats and look at your memes at the same time.
That's right. Gift yourself some memes as you're doing your squats, and then it's all good.
There you go. You can do it all together. Well, so again, we're looking at this issue of Parkinson's, and I was going to be focusing on the movement if Parkinson's is down there, is possibly in your future, you're going to help yourself with increased movement. And I think what we're saying here too is not just, and I do want to point that out back to that, again, what that's called plyometrics or whatever. But I think you could be, I'm going to pick on an old guy. You can be an older guy who goes out and runs his 2 miles every day and kind of shuffles along, and you're not helping yourself a ton, better than the guy on the couch.
Yeah.
But I would say, man, do some.
Always, we're back to the pamper idea. And I would say, push the edge.
Yeah.
Gently. Don't fall down and hurt yourself.
Yeah.
But if you're pushing the envelope and which is called hormesis, so too much of something can kill you. Water. Too little of it can kill you. So there's a hormetic effect where water's a bad example. Too much exercise can kill you. If Kevin Miller himself went out and ran 100 miles right now, you'd probably die. Like if we held a gun to your family's head,
my legs would shatter, I think.
Probably. Yeah. And this has happened to people, right? You just die. But if you don't do anything every day, all the time, you're killing yourself slowly in a different way.
Yeah.
So exercise has a hormetic effect. A little bit does really good. A lot of it can be too harmful. Well, but no exercise is really bad.
But I was going to the limiting aspect of just shuffling along there. I'm going to tell that guy, man, instead of doing your 2 hours or 2 miles today, do 200 yards and sprint, or do some high knees
or lunges.
Right.
Expand for the Parkinson's people. What we're going to say is expand your range of motion.
Yes. Thanks.
And expand your balance.
Yeah.
Challenge yourself with walking a balance beam.
Okay.
Well, okay. If you're an old guy and already out of balance, don't do that.
I still wanted to ask though about the, like the the pressure of a burpee, of jump, of a what is
Rebounding. So
okay.
these guys are going to do rebound.
Okay.
Rebounding is get them any tramp, and that pressure of the jump is very
I mean, you could
valuable.
theoretically just stand there and go into a squat, come up and jump like a
Yeah.
burpee,
Yeah.
and do that.
Yes.
And we're talking about that. I'm thinking of like elasticity
Yeah.
of whatever. Okay.
And extend that into the brain's elasticity. You are maintaining the pathways of movement within the brain, which is where the Parkinson problem is. And then that your range of motion will shrink in, and you'll get sort of shriveleder and shriveleder. And so just press against that.
Yeah.
It does become more comfortable. And that's where we say, I'm so sorry that you're in this place. But if you're a burn victim, I'm so sorry, but we're going to rip off that scab every day.
And I do want to point that out, that if you're having physical, even mental discomfort, that our propensity is to guard
To
it,
shrink.
to shrink.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to think about, if I,
You and your muscles.
yeah,
So you didn't do your pull-ups because it was hurting.
I know. I was trying to get past it, but then have to rehabilitate it. I was thinking about that. I mean, if you break your forearm, you need to put a cast on it. You need to immobilize it for a few weeks. Then you get it off. It's atrophied.
And it hurts.
Now you go to physical therapy. So for everybody who's out there and saying, man, my knees hurt,
there is a caution here. So we don't
Okay.
want people to go and hurt themselves worse.
Okay.
But also, if you also only
Is
shrink,
this where you go, I'm not a medical doctor, but you actually are. So watch out what you say.
It's true. So be careful. And that's where I'm going back to the envelope. If doing something hurts, pain is smart.
A signal.
It's a signal. Like, you might not need to be doing this. But if we're back to pampering, what is your brain? If I don't get my glass of wine tonight, that hurts me. Therefore,
Right.
I need to experience this other thing. Or, you can, and that's where in our culture in America, where we don't like not being pampered, that hurts us. So we tend to be pampered, and that shrinks us up. We don't like to be in pain, so we don't tend to push our bodies. And so consequently, we're having, double the rate of Parkinson's and younger people.
Well, and on the cautionary aspect like that, yeah, if you're listening to this right now and you realize, you've got some significant, let's go with knee pain, you've got some joint pain or whatever, and here we are saying, you should be doing burpees, whatever, and you go down to do them, and it's just excruciating. Something's wrong.
Yeah, don't do that.
Well, yeah, something's wrong. But instead of saying, well, I'm just not going to do that anymore. I am not a person who moves
I would
much.
say, come see us at True Life Medicine. We'll get to the bottom of that.
Exactly. Or to go to a physical therapist or something, and you might find out, oh, you actually have degenerative knees or whatever,
and the severe,
and you need surgery, or you need whatever, so that you can get to the point to where you can be a person who can do burpees or bend down without pain, whatever that is.
We're back to what's your goal and what lack do you not want to have.
Yeah.
We need to make a couple more points on Parkinson's, because we said movement, that's going to be the biggest one. Toxins, that's going to be something that people need to be aware of. We're mostly exposed to toxins through our food and our water. I would get a water filter. So you and I haven't done that yet, but we don't have this worry in our families, and so that hasn't been a thing.
Well, I have well water that's either making me supernatural or it's killing me, and I haven't had it tested in a long time.
Well, and I'm on city water, and I'm not a fan of it. And most of the water that we do drink here at the office is filtered. So so I would be leaning in down that pathway. And then the other thing is, are there brain supplements? Are there neurological supplements that theoretically can give you? And that's where I'd say, okay, for people who have listened to this, we've said this 100 times, these Parkinson's, if you're pre-Parkinson's, like we talked about, pre-diabetes, pre-cancer, we're all on the spectrum of everything. We're all pre-death. But if you're Parkinson's, then you've got to get sleep, right? If your sleep is starting to get disrupted, you're just going to get Parkinson's faster, worser. So sleep, exercise, the stress piece. If you're stressing out a brain that's already perceiving stress from the toxicants that you live in, and then you've got to be aware of that. And on the supplement side, are there some brain, tonics and things like that? I would say no, not with randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trial. And I would go back to the things that we talk about all the time. What are the basics? So the basics are still your basics for the brain, and for the Parkinson's person, they're just going to mean more. They have more gravitas in the problem.
Yeah.
And so the omega 3s and things like that, I'm going to conjecture that those are going to be worth more to that person to
Okay.
keep them more stable longer, probably.
Well, here's one more thing that doesn't go towards what you do about your own Parkinson's necessarily, but just as we look at yet again another, maybe again the numbers aren't high, but if they're increasing rapidly, that as we in 20 years, how much percentage of the population is going to
Yeah,
have Parkinson's, and it's going to
it's going to
increase. That
increase.
here's another side of it. This comes from this study. It says the majority of Parkinson's patients are cared for by informal caregivers, such as family
Family.
members.
Yeah.
The physical, mental, and emotional work this requires can be significant. So it goes on with that and talking more and more about it says these people living with Parkinson's will likely need caregiving support for an extensive period of time as they grow older. With no known cure and limited treatment options, this condition will adversely impact a growing number of Americans, either as patients or as caregivers well into the future. So just realizing that as we have, people that we know that if you get Parkinson's is going to take a toll on those around you because you're not going to go,
You're going to linger.
you're going to linger back to
Yeah.
your word. You're going to decline
Yeah.
slowly. And at first, so it's my wife, I'm going to be helping her a little bit. No, gosh, she dropped that and it's not a big deal. And then next we're going to be to the next level of it. Now she can't go to the bathroom or whatever. And at what point do I bring something in the mental?
And this is the numbers are small compared to Alzheimer's, but it's very similar.
I was going to say very similar. So it's another one. Yeah. All right. Well, let's go move.
Let's go move.